I bleed silver with black, and I wear it with pride. Hold my shield to the sky. I'm a raider for life. 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 I'm a raider for life.
Touchdown, Raiders!
What's good, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Mikey Raider, coming to you with another late night segment clip video of Raider football talk. We are not live, even though our channel is called Raider Central Live. But I'm living life like a vampire, and we're going to do this stuff. You're watching Raider football talk segment videos, and what are we going to talk about on today's show? Well, we have an interesting show. We're going to talk about one major topic, and that's 5 major issues that will affect the Raiders draft that's happening in about 7 days. There are some major issues on my mindset that could create drama before, during, or definitely after the draft. But it all could be combined, and we're going to talk about that on today's show. Please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel for early and exclusive content such as this, a day or two early. And I want to remind everybody that I do have donation portals down below. You can't really make a living off of YouTube and being a vampire, so I have to ask for support. So there it is. Hit me up, hook me up, buy me some tacos if you feel like it. And speaking of tacos, we got the draft coming up in 7 days. I will be going live and reacting to the draft, so I beg for you to please come and hang out with me. Maybe I'll buy some cocktails, but I'm definitely going to do a Raider recipe. So please let me know your Raider recipes of what you think I can make. Give it a Raider themed name, a la Derek Carnitas tacos, Khalil mac and cheese. You know, maybe Brock Bowers powered wings. Let me know what you think I should make for this annual Raider recipe, and we will hopefully get that done. Please let me know some Raider themes of food items in the chat room. The best one might be used, and I'll figure out a way to send you a prize. That's right, the draft is coming up in like 7 days, whatever the day be. Hopefully you'll join me live. That'll be a fun time for all of us to get together and hang out. And hopefully my microphone is not too loud. My apologies. But we're just going to work through it. Let's quickly get you up on the draft primer. These are the official 2025 Raider draft picks that we have going so far. We have 9 picks in total. And I've already done a couple of mock drafts in previous videos. I recommend you guys go and watch it. They were good fun. These are the offensive player visits that have happened as of 4/12/25, a couple of days ago. And look at all the quarterbacks that visited. I would say the Raiders are getting a quarterback. They didn't have a lot of running backs visit as of that date, and or a lot of wide receivers. They could be playing fake news to trying to set teams off in different ways. I don't know. Here it is with the defensive team visits as of 4/12/25, and expect 1 to 2, if not 3 to 4 to 5 of these players that visited to possibly become Raiders. Now, I did 2 mock drafts. I did a mock draft 1.0 and a 2.0. Let me know which one you think is the best. The first one had no trades. And as you can see, the second one on the right with the letter grades, I had more picks because I took trade offers. Now, we're going to finalize my 3.0 finale mock draft. It's going to be set in stone this coming Monday. So please look out for that video. That will be my final draft of who I think the Raiders should draft if they're available according to the draft application that I use. But again, these are looking pretty good. I like number 2 with the trades, but I like number 1 as well. But I cannot wait till I do my mock final draft of 3.0 this coming Monday. Members will get it on Monday. and the rest of the people will get it on Tuesday or Wednesday. So become a member, subscribe to the channel, and let me know which drafts you like that I did. Now, these things are making all the rage, so why not show them? There's a rendition of Mikey Raider as an action figure from the AI. The person that made this for me said they tried to write Michael Bauer in the Chat GPT AI, but it said we cannot use celebrities as action figures. Apparently I'm a celebrity. So they made me look like Vincent Bonsignor for the Raiders journalist. Okay. But it was supposed to be Mikey Raider or Michael Bauer. But apparently ChatGPT considers me a celebrity, so they couldn't use my image. I don't know. That's what the guy told me when he sent me that. And then here's the average white Raider fan starter pack. There it is, the average white Raider fan starter pack. With the Ken Stabler jersey, the comfortable shoes, Coors Light, and sunscreen. Wearing the shorts. I gotta be honest. Is that considered a racist action figure? Yes. Because whenever you separate by races, it becomes a racism thing. Whenever you separate white from black, from this, from that, it becomes racism. But that's pretty up to point for a white Raider fan starter pack of how that they would look hanging out with Raider Nation. Until they become OG like me, as you can see on screen. That being said, let's look at the AFC West as action figures according to the interwebs. You got your Raider fan on the left, got his Miller High Life. That's what I drink. I don't know about the gun and the knife. Modelo. He should be having a Modelo, but it looks like a Miller High Life to me. Then you got the Chiefs fan, cosplayer, with the barbecue sauce. Get out of jail free, because remember that guy that was a Chiefs fan that robbed everybody in banks? Well, they should have the gun. I'm just saying. There it is, the Raider chain. And the damn cosplayers got the furries. King Kong ain't got nothing on Chiefs fans. There it is. There we got our Charger fan. The fake Charger fan that was paid to be there. Then we got a Broncos fan. That one looks more like me. Not that I'm a Broncos fan, but that looks a little bit more like me. All fat and round and circular. We got Peyton Manning with a broken neck. We got the Charger fans with a Vikings jersey, because she also is a Vikings fan. They caught her wearing Vikings jerseys in other videos. Paid actress. And of course, Bud Light sponsors everybody in the AFC West. Then we got the evil Bronco horse that adorns the airport in Denver, Colorado. That demon airport. Yep, that's real. Pretty funny stuff to say the least. That being said, let's get into it. Sorry, I should have put it back on screen first. Let's get into 5 major issues that will affect the Raiders 2025 draft before or during or even after, per my opinions. This is kind of a particular order, and I'm just going to rush through these. I'm not going to have all the facts and the stats, but these are things, Raider fans, that we need to think about going into this draft, on who they draft, why they're going to draft these players, and what might happen to the players that are already on our roster after one of these players have been drafted or not drafted. It's a very interesting thing to think about. So, let me see if I can get that back on screen. Forgive me, I got to move these things down. So let's start with number 5. My number 5 concern that will affect this year's draft is is Jacoby Myers. People are not looking into this situation. I mean, who's our wide receiver one? Is it Jacoby Myers? Should he technically be our wide receiver one? Or is he better as a secondary wide receiver with a bigger wide receiver there? I know he took up the mantle when Devontae left and he had over 1,000-yard season, and it's all golden. And he's the baddest mofo that we still have on the team. One of the best wide receivers we got. But should he be the wide receiver one where the entire offense rolls around him in Chip Kelly's system? Well, there's also an issue with his contract. People haven't looked into it. He just signed a 3-year deal for like $33 million in 2022. And I think he got like $20 million guaranteed or whatever the case may be. But all the guaranteed is gone. To start this year, all of his guarantees are gone. And he's still getting another $11 million. And who are we going to draft? The odds are we're going to draft a wide receiver. Of course, that rookie wide receiver will not take over the number one spot that, let's be honest, he unwillingly has for our team. But compared to the number one wide receivers on any other NFL team, he is underpaid. And he is our only go-to right now. So, in a world all about dollars and money, and Jacoby Myers now having the power as the number one wide receiver on this team in a final year under a contract after his guaranteed money has been paid, this dude holds some power against the Raiders to hold out, try to get an extension before the season starts, and he can cause chaos for the Raiders. He can cause more chaos if they don't draft an early wide receiver, because then he will technically truly be the only wide receiver we have, because we didn't draft one in the first or second or third round that's really going to compete with him. I mean, none of them really will. But if we got a wide receiver in the 4th round, the 6th round, 7th round, undrafted free agents, we haven't addressed it really, in my opinion, in free agency. He holds a lot of power. Now, will Jacoby Myers realize it, that he has the power? Will he wait to see who we draft? Or will he just play ball, not create a problem, or, try to gain some more money, knowing that he's technically the only wide receiver we have on this team that can really do anything? Will he be perfect in Chip Kelly's offense? Will Chip Kelly draft a young wide receiver that might take time and stuff away from Jacoby Myers in a contract year? These are a lot of cards that Jacoby Myers needs to think about and play. Because he deserves more money if he is going to be the number one. And if the offense is going to revolve around him and the running game, he's that dude. We haven't got another dude to be that dude just yet. So he has some power. Or will he just ball out on a free agent year? Earn it, so then he becomes an official free agent in 2026, and hopefully he has another 1,000-yard season. He's the man. Now he'll get 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, $80 million guaranteed in free agency. I don't know what route he's going to go. I am not going to speculate. He's a cool dude. I like him on our team, but there is a lot of options to weigh here. And we're going to find out during the draft what he might do power-wise after the draft. So that's my number 5, something interesting to look about. I don't know, and again, I'm not here to speculate. I'm just here to send you guys some angles that could happen depending on the draft and depending on Jacoby Myers and or his agent, and if he feels like he's going to have a great year and get a lot of money in free agency in 2026. But again, with injuries and stuff like that, his money's already been guaranteed for the Raiders. They might draft some young players. They got a new offensive coordinator. We got a new quarterback. It's a lot up in the air to think about. So, a lot of people don't have Jacoby Myers as any type of a situation. But I look at things a little bit differently. And I hope it's not a situation. I don't think it will be. But hey, I'm not doing my job if I didn't tell you all the crazy thoughts that go in my head. Because I'm Mikey Raider. Now, the number 4 possible issue. Sorry, I'm getting my pictures mixed up here. There we go. Yeah, the number 4 possible issue that we have on the Raiders team that will affect the draft, or after the draft, or during the draft, is our defensive line. Everybody on our defensive line is basically coming back from an injury. There's no guarantee that any of them will be 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 100% of what they were. And any player on the defensive line that's not named Tyree Wilson, even if they're 50% better, they're already 50% better than what we have in our first-round draft pick, Tyree Wilson, from a couple of years ago. So, even though we re-signed Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins coming back off an injury, our best player, we got Malcolm Kuntz back, some players like that, we have no fucking clue what our defensive line is going to be. It's basically like Las Vegas. We're rolling the fucking dice coming off of injuries. Tyree Wilson, will he live up to his name? Will he officially become a bust? I don't fucking know. I don't have any hopes off of what I've seen. He's become a backup player. A backup, a depth piece, if you will. Now, the positive Raider fans are going to see a lot from Tyree Wilson. Oh, he's going to ball out this year, this and that. But there's the issue of a 5th-year contract coming up. Do we want to pick him on the 5th-year contract? Defensive edge rushers are a commodity, and he hasn't lived up to the billing. And he's now going to be in his 3rd year with Patrick Graham. And Patrick Graham, in his first year, didn't like what they saw from him. Then in his 2nd year, they had to move him around from defensive tackle to defensive edge and back and forth, and he played okay at times, but he hasn't put it all together. And now he's in the same system for a 3rd year, and he's basically our only healthy defensive lineman. You know what I mean. So our defensive line, they might need to address it with some young players in the draft if they can. Depending on their draft board, they need to address it. And I'm not talking about trading Tyree Wilson. There is no draft value for him whatsoever. But they paid the money to Max Crosby. They're hoping Christian Wilkins and the other players that are coming off injury can do anything. And they're hoping Tyree Wilson takes a 100% leap in this year. And guess what that's called? That's called gambling. That's called betting. So people think going into the season that we got one of the best defensive lines. All we can do is pray and hope. That being said, we got some of the best players, but we don't know what's going to happen. So, this will affect the draft. If the Raiders and the Brash and John Spytek see it like I do, we need a defensive player stud, and if we can get one in the first 2 or 3 rounds, that would help out. But it's not necessary because we're gambling on players coming back from the injuries. But how this could affect after the draft, if we are not able to at least get one defensive lineman in the draft that we really wanted, that was high on the board, that we think can fill a need, whether this year, next year, or the following. Because as we looked about with Max Crosby, they can get out of his contract in 2 years very easily. They can get out of Christian Wilkins' contract in 2 years very easily. They can get out of Malcolm Kunch's contract within 1 year based off of the injury and the other players that we re-signed. They're all like on 1 to 2 year deals, technically speaking, where we can get out of it. So our defensive line is 2 years away from either being the biggest free agent money headache in the world that we need to pay even more money for, or we're starting over. This team is on a 2 year window. So how this could affect after the draft, like I was just trying to say before I lost my train of thought. Choo-choo, bitches. Was after the draft, if we don't get some young defensive players that we really have a lot of faith in, I think they're going to pick up some undrafted free agents, a few of them to say the least, to bring them into camp to see if one of them sticks. But if we don't do that, they might have to spend some of their $35 million in cap space and pick up a free agent defensive lineman just in case. But hey, it's too early to think about, but that's what I do. That's my number 4 problem with the Raiders that could affect the draft, is the defensive line and the lack of depth with our players and who's going to be good coming off of injuries. We basically got like 4 major players coming off of injuries. Hopefully 2 of them can be solid. Hopefully you know what I'm saying. I'm going to leave it at that. Now, the number 3 concern that will affect the draft for me is Jalen Ramsey. This just happened a day or so ago. Jalen Ramsey was notified that he's now allowed to seek a trade to another team. They already got him on contract for Miami. The Miami team said, hey, we're willing to let you go. Well, let's think about it. A few years back when Jalen Ramsey went to the Rams, he stated he wanted to be a Raider in Vegas. I mean, he wanted to save tax money. He went to Miami. They have no taxes in Florida as well. Now he's available, and the Raiders, honestly, have a need at cornerback, and I predict us drafting a cornerback or 2. If John Spytek goes against what they've shown so far, the Raiders never go after players in free agency when they become available. Even though this ain't free agency, the Raiders typically, we don't see them go after the players. Then they go to other teams and they ball out and they do good and they help that team go to the playoffs, or they win Super Bowls with that team and whatnot. And the Raiders, for as long as I can remember, stay out of that. But then they pay millions upon millions of dollars to players that will not even work with the Raiders, and they really don't fit a need. Well, that's the situation with Jalen Ramsey. He fits a need for the Raiders. We got rid of Jack Jones. Jalen Ramsey is a star. Mark Davis wants stars in Oakland. In order to get Jalen Ramsey, we'd have to give up some trade capital and spend some of our $35 million to take over his contract. Are the Raiders willing to do that? Give up a first-round pick this year or next year, or a couple of seconds, or whatever the case may be, to get this cornerback who's up there in age, but he's still a balling out player that would love to play in Vegas with no taxes as well? I'm going to be honest with you all. If John Spytek and the Raiders are in it for Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham, where they're trying to win now and then also build through the draft, you don't want to get Jalen Ramsey. So we're going to find out what the Raiders do. Mark Davis would want Jalen Ramsey. I have a feeling Mark Davis mentioned that to the brash. And Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll loves cornerbacks like that with flair. Richard Sherman and players in his dynasty in Seattle. Now, if we want to build a defense with Patrick Graham under Pete Carroll as well, Jalen Ramsey would be the catalyst for this team. And that's somebody, if John Spytek, you're trying to help Pete Carroll to try to win now in these next 2 or 3 years, you got to at least make a play for Jalen Ramsey publicly. And I'm not saying give up the farm, but try to make some moves. You're in Vegas, make some moves. Go after Jalen Ramsey. We got enough money in cap space to pick him on. We do, if you're willing to spend it. We don't have the draft capital. I understand that. But like I said, if you can make a move for him and get him somehow, maybe trade Tyree Wilson or a player and a couple of draft picks from this year and next year of later rounds or a second rounder. Get Jalen Ramsey. He could be a key defensive piece for our team. At least for the next 2 years. And he'll help sell tickets. And you think he won't act like a Raider? He likes to talk too. This dude would have a reawakening. He might be Charles Woodson 2.0. Like when we lost Charles Woodson to the Green Bay Packers and how good he played there late in his career. Jalen Ramsey could be that for the Vegas Raiders. This is an opportunity. You got to figure out a way to make it happen. So John Spytek, prove to us that you're not an idiot. Maybe you are a gambler, but go out and get this motherfucker. Make him a Raider now. This will build our team. I'm not saying give up the farm. But do some backdoor wheels and deals. Pay some money behind the scenes. Make this shit happen. If you want to add a very talented player to the Raiders that will lift all boats and all ships on our team. The players will love him and his energy and his passion. Imagine him with Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, our new running back that we're going to draft. Come on. Make it happen. So that could affect the draft is what I'm saying in terms of trades or capital or if the Raiders are pursuing him. And it could affect after the draft where maybe they want to trade for him after the draft. That way the Raiders can get their players, then they can wheel and deal after the draft for a player like Jalen Ramsey because his price will go down. And Miami Dolphins seem to be a little desperate in order to make this announcement 1 week before the draft. Now, the second problem, I don't know if it's a problem, but the second issue, as we are talking about, 5 major issues that will affect the Raiders draft. We went through 3 of them just now. Now, number 2 is Colton Miller, our offensive tackle. Who knew he'd be an issue? Well, the rumors are he's missed voluntary workouts. That doesn't mean anything. They're voluntary. Last year, he was injured on his shoulder. He didn't play that much, and when he did play, we didn't look so great. He's also on a final year of his deal. And he's coming off injury. So, how could this affect the draft? Well, he might be a holdout. Again, depending on Jacoby Myers, if he feels like he could be a holdout because he has the power, same thing goes for Colton Miller. He's going to want to get paid. He's starting to get injured now. He wants to get more guaranteed money before his career possibly ends or if he continues to get injured. Now with Chip Kelly coming in with a new offense, this is probably going to be his fourth offensive coordinator in 5 or 6 years. And every one of them wants him to do something different. And now with him getting up there in age, he's not able to do it correctly. So he's got to get his money now. He's got to get his money now. Because there's no guarantee he's going to bounce back from the injury last year in a final free agent year to have a beast of a year. And now he's missing voluntary workouts? Maybe there's an excused absence there. Even though it's voluntary, they don't need to show up. But you would think an offensive lineman coming off a shoulder injury needs to lift weights, get around his teammate, meet his new offensive coordinator so he can have a talk like that. So this is not an issue publicly yet, but it could be. And the way this might affect the draft is if the Raiders actually know something is afoot behind the scenes, we might have to draft an offensive player at number 6. Or in the second round, a tackle. Because we need a tackle. Now with this information that's possibly starting to come out, wow. And our offensive line wasn't the best last year as well either. In terms of the run game, we ranked almost worst in all running categories. And that's what Colton Miller is good at. And we were worst. Now we got DJ Glaze and a couple other players that hopefully might take a step up. And we'll get a better running back. But we need our offensive line. We need our left tackle. And the left tackle is Geno Smith's best friend. And we're possibly going into this season with our left tackle, our veteran, coming off an injury, not going to voluntary workouts, possibly wanting a new contract or an extension behind the scenes. Might be disgruntled or worried, or he might not even bounce back. Are we going to do that to Geno Smith in his first year? Shit. I'm nervous, y'all. Freaking nervous, y'all. Freaking nervous. I'm freaking nervous. So I'll just leave it at that. And I don't know why I do not have it on screen. That was my number 1 concern, even though I listed it as number 2. I'm missing a picture in my folder. So I'll just talk about it. My number 2 was actually Aiden O'Connell. My number 1 was Colton Miller. I don't know why I don't have the picture here. I must have done something wrong with my phone or didn't download the photo. But I talked about Colton Miller. He was my number 1 possible issue for the draft. But let's just quickly talk about Aiden O'Connell. Forgive me for not having the picture on screen. But Aiden O'Connell, that would have been my number 2. Why is that a possible issue before the draft or during the draft or after the draft is, well, we got him on the last year or 2 of his contract, and he's always been the backup, and he's played good at times. Now he's going to with his 3rd offensive coordinator, probably in just as many years, and now they brought in another quarterback for him to back up and fight for. And let's just be honest, Aiden O'Connell might hold some value for other teams. And I'm not saying to trade him or whatever that we'll get anything for him, but if we are possibly trying to get a player like Jalen Ramsey or something like that, maybe we can get a 5th rounder for Aiden O'Connell for a lot of these quarterback needy teams that we already got tape on him. Because we signed Geno, and now Geno's our quarterback. But then who will be our second quarterback? That's why we need to keep Aiden O'Connell. But hear me out. There's a major possibility, depending on how the draft works out, that we draft a quarterback. In the 1st round, the 2nd round, the 3rd round, wherever it's plausible for the Raiders to draft another young quarterback to build for this team. So we only got Aiden O'Connell on a contract for another 2 years. That's basically the same contract as Geno Smith. And will Aiden O'Connell just want to move along to someplace he could possibly start for? Will he wait his time to try to be the starter for the Raiders? Is he deserving of that job? And then if we draft another quarterback, how big or popularity will that quarterback be? And how early will we draft that quarterback? So there's a lot of obstacles in front of Aiden O'Connell that could happen. And I'm assuming him as a quarterback might start to think to himself, I might have a better opportunity with another team. Because at every opportunity I got, they drafted a player or they got a free agent quarterback. And they've always proven to me that I'm a backup, that I'm going to be a career backup. Now, for a player like Aiden O'Connell, they can probably accept that without no remorse. But still, their first contract, he has to maximize his value after he was drafted. So he's got 2 years left, and he's already started for the Raiders, and he's probably won a few games, so he's got some tape. So yes, he could probably be a career backup with the Raiders, making $2-3 million a season. Or he could go to a really quarterback needy team, and I'm just spitballing here, and I don't mean this year, maybe next year, but somebody like the Cleveland Browns or one of these other teams, and you know, they could bring him on a nice contract for like $7 million a year. And if even he's the backup, he's getting $7 million a year compared to the 3 or 4 to play for the Raiders. Unfortunately, people don't think that Aiden O'Connell has to think about that right now, but I'm saying he does, depending on what the Raiders do in the draft. Because if they draft a Shadur Sanders, a Jackson Dart, a Jalen Milroe, and players of the like, they're going to be drafted probably before the 4th round where Aiden O'Connell was drafted, and they're going to have a bigger, popular, more current name. So Aiden O'Connell, if one of those players are drafted, those players, no matter what, will be the backup for the Raiders because they were drafted early, they have a bigger name, and they are current. So in a Chip Kelly offense, if he drafts Will Howard, the player that played for him for Ohio State, you think Chip Kelly is not going to want to make him officially the backup over Aiden O'Connell? Again, maybe Aiden O'Connell could beat him out, but again, these players might be more current or better suited for Chip Kelly's offense. So Aiden O'Connell might be the beginning of a downward trend for him. And if he's going to get a second contract for a decent amount of money with a possibility of being the actual second string backup, if not maybe a starter in reserve duty, Aiden O'Connell's got to start thinking about his career with the Raiders right now. So those are my possible 5 issues with the Raiders. And let me know if you agree with any of them or if you do not think that any of them will be an issue before or during or after the draft. But I'm thinking 2 years ahead, y'all. So that's what I think might happen. This was an interesting thing that came up. 21st century saddest downfalls of the top 14 ranking of the lost potential star players, of how they had the saddest downfalls. Well, look at number 2. We got Henry Ruggs. That is a sad downfall. We just lost Kyron Lacey, I believe his name was, a wide receiver that unalived somebody a while back. Then he got in a fight with his family. His draft stock fell. He probably wasn't going to be drafted. Then I don't know what happened, but he had a lot of pressure. He had a fight with his family, pulled out a gun, shot in the ground, went in a car chase where he already unalived somebody in a car chase months earlier of last year, and then he got into another accident again, and then apparently he unalived himself. And wow. But these are some sad stories, but I mean, I don't know why Todd Gurley's number one. He had a good career. He had a downfall, but he got paid. At one point, he had a contract. Well, he got fucking paid. Luke Kuechly, yeah, so many concussions, man. That dude was balling out. And then it just went downhill from there. Robert Griffin balled out for a little while, but his career faded. Darius Geist, that running back, yeah, I remember that one a little bit. Plaxico, I think he won a Super Bowl, though. And then he went to the nightclub incident. Andrew Luck, I don't know if that's sad. He left on his terms. I don't know if that's sad. Josh Gordon, yeah, that dude in fantasy football that 1 year, my goodness. But yep, everything was gone from him for the disease or drugs or alcohol or whatever he was doing. Titus Young, I don't really remember that story. Justin Blackmon, I remember that story. He was wanted by the cops or did something. He was on the run. Dorial Green Beckham, Philadelphia Eagles, drafted early. He didn't pan out. Michael Vick, he came back. He started to play for some teams, made a little bit of money, brought his career and life back in a nice way. Kevin White, yeah, first round wide receiver drafted, panned out to be nothing. Johnny Manziel, I got his rookie card autographed by him. I got a 1 of 1. Like I got one of those specialty cards, 1 of 1. Autographed by Johnny Money Manziel. And like when it came out and I got the card, I'm like, oh my God, I got a 1 of 1 Johnny Manziel Cleveland Brown card. It's worth probably $500, $600. Now it's probably worth 3 cents. Pretty sucks, man. I don't know. Let me know if you guys agree that Henry Ruggs should be number 2. I mean, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm going to say in terms of a sad downfall, Henry Ruggs is probably number 1. Because he chose to drink, drive, and do all that stuff. Some of the players on the list, they just lost their health or whatever due to some other issues. I don't know. Just sad to look at when you think about sad downfalls and the Raiders. So many events and so many players can come to mind. Just really, really sad. So there it is, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me. Reminder, please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of the channel. And those were my 5 major issues that will affect the Raiders 2025 draft before, during, or definitely after. But all of these might affect, if the Raiders are seeing what I'm seeing, you're going to see replacements being drafted for some of these players that I just spoke about on this video. Please join me live at the draft on April 25th, I think it is, Thursday night. Probably about an hour before the draft. Get online. Hopefully you'll spend your day with me. We can watch the draft, do a Raider recipe, hang out, and realize how blessed we are in life to be here. And we cannot have a sad downfall. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. Please share it. Please share it. Please like it. I need to get my video views back up a little bit again. And thank you for supporting. I'll see y'all on draft day. And I'll definitely see a lot of you on Monday for my 3.0 mock draft, where Mikey Raider's going to be the fucking guru that I am, and I'm going to predict all the players the Raiders are going to get in my final mock draft. I'll see you then, Raider Nation. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed, and let me know some issues that will affect the Raiders draft from your perspective that I didn't talk about, or that you foresee either being an issue, a problem, or an upgrade or a downgrade. See you soon.
I bleed silver and black, and I wear it with pride. Hold my shield to the sky, I'm a Raider for life. 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 I'm a Raider for life.